Hey everyone, this is Taylor.
I'm Joaquin
Here
Guerrero.
at Good Harbor Blue.
Yes.
It's been 1 month since we premiered.
Exactly 1 month
Exactly
today.
1 month since we premiered the movie Red Shadow at the Temple Theater in Saginaw. And we thank each and every one of
Yes,
you that
we
came
do.
out and supported us, whether or not you made it. You still supported us, and we appreciate that very much. We had just shy of 500 people join
500.
us.
It's hard to believe. 500 people. Shy of that. Just,
You're right. It was amazing. We had a great time. People got photos. They got to meet some of the cast and crew. They got to meet Storm,
Yes.
the dog in the film as well. And you guys had a lot of great questions for the Q&A.
Good concessions. Don't forget.
Oh yeah,
Good
excellent concessions.
yes.
There was 4 lines of concessions
Yes.
going when we were there. There were people at the door. It was
Pretzels, popcorn. They had some type of margarita. I don't know what.
Yeah,
it
they had
was. Some
they had a Red's margarita.
Red's margarita, something like that. I can't remember.
Oh
what that
yeah,
was.
it was quite the deal to be there at the Great Temple Theater in Saginaw. A lot of great comments.
Yes.
People were just in awe. And then when they saw the movie, a lot of the comments that I got after was not only was it a great movie, but they were just like, wow, the music, they said,
Yes.
and the scenery and the people and
Yes.
they were just, I think they felt like it was going to be a really small movie.
Yeah.
But then it was, as I've been told, much bigger than they thought it was going to be.
Correct.
So I was very, very excited, and boy, we can't wait to get started on the next thing.
I know.
So
It's
Q&A.
gonna be good. It's gonna be fun.
It is, absolutely. So Q&A, we had a lot of great questions. We had even more questions coming after the fact, and we're here today to answer those.
them. Answer your questions that you text us, send us, or personally send us on Messenger.
And we have a special guest with us today as well.
Yes,
we asked
do.
him last
Yes, we
minute.
do. Last minute.
It's not independent movies or any movie if you don't call somebody up last minute and say you need something.
Been there a lot in this movie.
Right.
Taylor.
So, hey, question and answers. Let's get this ball started.
Yes.
And a little bit of behind the scenes. I will say this, though. We should probably warn our audience. There might be some, how do you
Spoiler
say? Some
alert.
spoiler alerts. So we're going to warn you right now. There's probably some spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, which it's coming in theaters, we'll talk
Yes.
about that in a moment. If you haven't seen it yet, you may not want to go any further past this point. We're just warning you.
Yep.
So, let's
Can't
get
say we didn't warn you.
Exactly. So let's get this party started.
Yes.
All right, here we go. All right, everybody, here's the question and answer session and our special guest, Mr. Jacob Lonsberry. You know, he played the supporting role that we, here's spoiler alert, almost killed off in the movie. Other than Tom.
Tom. Poor
Thanks
Tom.
for joining us today, Jake. I know it was last minute,
Thanks for inviting me out.
Yeah.
So this is exciting because it was supposed to be like a small movie. At least that was the idea.
Yes.
And then this guy here kept going, no, bigger, go home, or was it go big or go home?
Yeah.
So I think we did a pretty good job. This is not your first movie.
No, it's not my first movie, but it's my first major role. The first movie I was in, I was only in like 27 seconds. The second movie, about 2 minutes. This one I'm in
2
quite
minutes, 27 seconds.
Yeah. I'm in like 3 minutes. No, this one's a much more important role too. Like I was always background noise for the most part. So
What did you enjoy most about your overall experience? And then what did you enjoy about your particular role?
Well, my overall experience for me, the most enjoyable thing was, I found out I really do like acting. Like the other things I did before was just for fun or to help out a friend. This was a more serious situation for me where I really had to learn, and that was a big deal for me. What I really got out of it though was not only did I get to be in front of the camera doing that, but I got to see all aspects of it. Like I got to participate in helping do some of the filming and helping do the sound and
It's kind of different. You have to work both
Oh,
ends.
yeah.
It's not easy.
holding the mat down one day and holding the dog another day. It was,
Yeah.
but I think seeing all of those different aspects, like you two both know I like to write, and I write these sort of things, but this really gave me a better perspective for when I do the writing. Like what does it look like? What does it sound like? And actually taking that into account.
It's just going to add more. It's going to broaden your horizon in the writing.
We had a scene that we cut for a lot of different reasons, but I recall your arms killing you from filming that scene because you had the shoulder rig. And so I think that was like your first-hand experience that, this is real work.
Yeah, you think you're real tough until you pick up one of those cameras and you're like, oh, I can do this. And then your heart, you realize you got to hold the you got to realize you got to hold the camera steady, and then your heartbeat's going through your shoulder. and then your forearms start giving out. I mean, I was using a chair to balance near the end. It was.
You had one time you were doing that for one day, and then another day you were filling in for doing boom. So your arms are straight up in the air.
Yep.
You're doing it, so you got quite the workout. So well, that's
And,
good.
and I definitely didn't accidentally bump Justine in the head with the boom. That definitely didn't happen.
Gotta clear that up for everybody.
Yeah.
Gotta clear that
Apparently
up.
he bumped her in the head.
No,
I bumped chandeliers. You bumped people. I mean, I was, you know.
the place we were in had some rather
Extravagant.
Some
music.
tight-
in
quarters.
tight spaces, and I was worried about a large piece of glass behind me, and it was either the large piece of glass or
Or
Justine's
somebody's
head.
head.
So,
The sacrifices we made.
yes, exactly.
So you got some Q&A. So a lot of folks asked a lot of great questions, a lot
Yes,
of
a
detailed
lot of them.
questions. Some of them we had to basically sleep on them because I don't know how to answer them right now. There's so many moving parts to a big motion picture, let alone an indie small motion picture. In fact, one of the questions we get, because we use the word indie all the time, is what does it mean by indie?
Yes.
Indie is just short for independent. We don't have, in our case, we didn't have any investors. We didn't have any studio or any other backing that came out. So it's strictly, literally, the budget came up just from us, really.
Right.
And everybody, you know, we like to stress this with everybody that we did pay, all actors, cast, and crew got paid, and they got fed. Everybody was well fed. And you don't see that at this level because most people can't afford that, and that's understandable. But we figured that we wanted to make this a great opportunity for people to not only learn and participate in something like this, but we want to show them that we care and we want to take care of them, that their time does matter to us. And so I think that was a big thing when we were doing this.
And they did. They appreciated it. You could tell afterwards. They loved the food. They loved,
Well, we
how
loved
we
the
were
food.
right there
We
for
definitely-
them, and
yeah.
taking care of them like water, food, snack. And then some places, I've been on sets, it's just snacks. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You know what I'm talking about? Cheese, cracker, water, and you're like, oh, okay.
But I think the big thing for me is I've been on some sets and it was either bring your own or maybe pizza, or there'd be one person with a dietary restriction and everybody had to eat whatever that was. On this set, it was very cool because y'all took the time to be like, okay, this person is gluten free,
Yes.
and everybody was taken care of. But then you didn't find yourself eating vegan cheese because that was the only thing that was available. Like it was
right.
so.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because you're right. I've been on a couple of Hollywood
Yes.
sets myself, and there was an array of stuff, but there really wasn't anything too specialized. So we had the opportunity to be able to do that, and I'm glad we were. So because we do, we want to respect our cast and crew the best that we can with what we can afford. So some of the questions. So indie, we covered indie. People asked if it would be a part 2 of this movie. I don't plan on a part 2 for this movie. It was fun. I want a one and done, one for fun and done. I'm good with Red Shadow. So here's a couple of neat questions. What did we learn about ourselves through the process? What is the hope and the outcome or the impact this project will be? And then people started asking us who's single and looking. So, which hey, we love your questions. No matter what they were, it's great. But we'll cover everything except the single and looking part.
Yes.
What did we learn about ourselves through the process, and what is the hope? What is the hope of the outcome and the impact this project will be? Actually, Joaquin, go ahead and talk on that a little bit. I know you and I discussed that.
The hope and outcome of this
The
project.
outcome of this project. Yeah. What's our hope of the overall outcome?
I think what is our overall outcome is that we want to bring more to Michigan with these movies and stuff, being able to utilize the talent that we have here, not only just in mid-Michigan, but in the whole state of Michigan total. And, to be part of that, to try that, it's not like we're reinventing the wheel. There's a lot of other indie filmmakers that are out there. And like I said, this is the first time with me being on the other side of the camera. I've assisted on other movies that come in that are like Hallmark type movies and stuff, and you're being a PA or you're helping working with the back extras and stuff. But to go into this aspect of where you're looking and trying to find sets and actors and stuff that would fit for what we needed to do for this movie, and what I perceived out of this and what I wanted to do was to show what we have here and to be a part of that we have it. Michigan has a lot to offer in this industry. It's just that we got to be able to find the right people and the people that want to tap into that and jump aboard and help do this dream that we're doing.
Absolutely. And I think my biggest thing is it's so funny because we talked about it last year, and it was such a small idea, and every time we turned around, it went bigger and bigger. It was either bigger sets, or it was more people, or it was more depth to the story, down to the costuming. When we brought Megan on to hair, makeup, and costuming, she really took the time to say, "Hey, let's think about this and how this plays for this character." And there was a lot of depth.
And the
into
research
this.
she put into
The
looking for the
research.
stuff.
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
in fact, for the black and white scene, that was supposed to mimic a 1940s era, and she actually, all the clothing and accessories for that were from the 1940s. There was nothing there that like screamed today or anything close to it. So that I thought was kind of cool.
Yes.
But I guess my hope and outcome is that we're able to bring on new talent, train new talent, work with new talent. In fact, this is interesting, and I don't think I've seen this with a whole lot of other indie films. The veteran actors were the ones that kind of took the back seat, and they coached and worked with the newer actors like yourself, and they kind of took them under their wing, so to speak, and shared things. I remember even Alex and Melissa worked together to get that transatlantic dialect.
Correct.
The dialect they used for older films like the 1940s. So that was the kind of care and depth that we took to do this movie. But overall, like I said, to train, develop, motivate, inspire people, that I felt was our biggest the thing we want to get out of this is our greatest outcome. Or did you have thoughts on that as well?
Well, first of all, the black and white, that one gets me every time.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
No, I think that was the biggest thing for me. Like when you first reached out to me, the idea that it was community based and it was focused on bringing the story with the local talent, the local, we weren't flying people in from other parts of the country or other parts of the world. We used local businesses. We got the support of local business. I think that was the thing that really, when we look at outcomes, I started with the idea that this is going to be fun. That was my outcome. I'm going to do it and it's going to be fun. What it became was much more for me. Like it became a community event, and then we became a family in the process, which was huge. But to go to Mooney's and get ice cream named after the film, or there was just all these different businesses to go to. The diner suddenly.
The
Fuzzies, Fuzzies,
yeah.
and just the support they had was amazing. And I'll be honest, I've been in this community 30 years and didn't know. So like I'd never been to Fuzzies.
You didn't know Fuzzies.
So,
But those that I know you before that was the old City Dairy before then.
Oh,
yeah.
So it's City Dairy to Fuzzy, so it's iconic. It's an iconic building.
And that's the thing. And now, I mean, even I personally, I've taken my child there.
Yeah.
It's a great place to go. I've had friends go there. I recommend it. But I think that's what this movie did, is it really opened my eyes to what the community was, and then watching that community support.
And even then,
that
even
was
the business
huge.
people even said that afterwards. That after the movie came out, they had a flooding of people coming in wanting to check out the sets and stuff. And
Absolutely.
from Mooney's, I mean, Mooney's sold over 100 some gallons of the Red Shadow ice cream
In the fall,
in the
winter,
fall, in the
yes.
winter, and that's what's even crazy. They're still selling it, and now they've even told us, Mike even told us that they're going to put that as one of their main ice creams now. It made it on there with Blue Moon and Superman.
I may have eaten a gallon of it by myself.
I know.
That's a whole other story.
It was a mistake taking us all together because we were sitting there getting that ice cream and eating it.
And then we can't fit in the costumes
Right.
after a while.
Yeah.
So no, that's
Continuity
good
is a
stuff.
problem when you get all the good food.
Yeah, right. But you go back to community. It was about community, and it did become kind of like a family because people are sitting around, and at some point we're all swapping production war stories about what happened that day, and that kind of thing. So. It's important. I agree. And if you don't have some kind of a community within the production itself, you're gonna have problems. And even on your tough days, everybody's got to still come together and say, okay, let's step back for a moment. Let's reassess. Let's address this, and let's do this differently. Do it better. We had one day like that where we had to step back and say, no, unfortunately we scrapped the whole day. We're like, nope. But it just. And it's no one's fault. It's just you have so many other things that come into play. Right. You lose a location, or you have bad weather, or something happens. Like you gotta take that in a new direction, whether it's a new location or a new direction altogether. It's just some of the sacrifices you make.
You mentioned storm. As I remember, that day was the perfect storm because it was windy, lost a location. I mean, there was timing.
Technical, everything.
Everything happened all at once. But I think that's, when we speak of family in this, that was the biggest thing for me. Like, credit to both of you when you picked everybody to be on, whether it be the cast or the crew in the background and everything. It was a group that had very good chemistry together.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that
And
was
that's what we wanted. We
Yeah.
wanted that in this movie.
I mean, on and off the set, we became a family. Like there's situations where the people that were friends in the movie became friends in real life, and we didn't know each other before
No.
that. And I think that's been something that's been really big for me. Is that this was what you kind of dream of. Like I've seen other sets and things like that. That's not what always happens. This was a tight-knit group that were brought together by the leadership, and it really was awesome.
And it's something you don't expect, but you're right. You're glad that it happens because then when you have those hard days, and I remember that one tough day, and we scrapped the whole day, and just for the production aspect, so that our audience knows, you don't just scrap a day. You're still having to pay for everything because you've paid for everybody to come out for their time. You're paying for maybe locations or props or whatever the case may be. So that's not a light decision.
Yeah.
And I remember going to Joaquin, and that's a hard day as a director when you sit there and you just shake your head and you're like, okay, we're trying to force a square peg into a round hole. This ain't gonna happen. It's just we got to figure out what do we do from here. And then those hard conversations, sometimes the most beautiful things come out. In fact, one of the scenes that came from that reshoot was the scene with Sammy.
Right.
And in what we call the library scene, it was actually shot at Castle. And we just happened to have a beautiful night for that. And everything fell into place. The total opposite of that day happened.
Yes.
Everything fell into place. Everybody knew their lines like almost dead on. Our shots were just perfect. The lighting was beautiful. And the funny part is... And you've told me you're going to kick yourself if you don't reshoot that, and he's right. Yep. And everybody came up to me after the premiere and talked about that was one of their favorite scenes. Was that scene?
Yeah.
So it's sometimes you got to make those sacrifices, and when you do, there's a good reason for it.
Yeah.
So a couple other Q&A here. They asked when we started filming. We actually started filming back in actual production, what they call principal photography, happened in the end of March last year. We started with the black and white film, actually in the studio we're in right now. The idea went back as far as like September of 2021,
Right.
and we started test filming with the dog and the little girl in October of
Right.
2021, just to see what the chemistry was going to be like. What inspired the movie, I think I covered this when we were at the theater, was it originally was written as a horror film almost 17 years ago. I wrote it. The original file is corrupt, which thank goodness it was, because we spun it into a family film. Who would be on the blooper reel if there was one, Jake? There probably will be a blooper reel at some point, maybe later in the winter.
Do we want the on-camera blooper shots or the ones where someone may have tripped over a cement flower pot and been assigned?
Yeah, so All right, what type of theatrical training or experience did the actress that played Red before this role? That was Justine Brooks. Justine has worked in different plays. She's done some video promo work, as far as I know. And this was her first feature film.
Yes.
So great job for her first feature film. In fact, a lot of people, this was their first feature film. Which you couldn't really tell. I think everybody did a solid job. You really was... I had people ask me, where'd you pick them up from? Where'd you get them from? Like, Craigslist.
Facebook.
Which we'll tell that story in a minute. What was the first, or was this the first role for the actress that played young Red, Miss Josie, little Josie? This was her first role.
Yes.
And people were blown away. They loved her. In fact, I will tell you a couple comments that were made. The biggest comment that stands out to me, people said that first 2-3 minutes, they said you could hear a pin drop in that theater.
Yes.
Because they said that it is just such a moving scene. That kid does such a great job. And she was fun to work with.
And I've worked with her too prior to that when we were like getting ready to pick the actors for that, and we had already were starting to look at young little actors to play that role for young Red. And I remember I did a photo shoot with her and her brother, and I knew already just by the way she acted in that photo shoot because of Storm. Storm is a very powerful looking dog when you see him, and she just gravitated right to him. He loved her. And it just blended just perfect. And that was the key thing, especially when you're working with children and animals, you know, they're tough as it is already, and you know they block off hours, not just like, oh, now here could be a half a day or even a full day of doing stuff, because you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
So now we had two big things we had to worry about, but you know, I mean, it worked great, and it just meshed awesome.
For her being an amateur actor, it blew me away
Yes.
because she was hitting marks. She was her lines were solid. There wasn't as much pushback because kids and animals, you know, once
I
they're
sent
done,
you that
they're
reel.
done.
I sent him the
You
reel,
know?
and he's like,
Yeah, right. Yeah, her mom filmed the
Yeah.
reel and
Sent
sent
it
it
to me,
over
and
to
I-
us. So, but when kids are done, they're done. When animals
Yeah.
are done, they're done.
They're done.
There
That's
is
it.
no
There's
coaxing,
no-
more
yeah.
money, more this. It doesn't work that way. So, and obviously, just for our viewers as well, to let them know, we do, as a company, have to work within guidelines for how long you can work with a child
Correct.
actor. We had complete sign-offs. We worked with the mother. We only released what we were allowed to release. So we had all those permissions up front, and on top of that, you know, this production obviously it was insured as
Right.
well. We never put anybody in any dangerous situation whatsoever. And in fact, just a side note on that, there's some car driving scenes, but those all that was private property or private location, and a lot of it was sped up significantly in
Yeah.
post because for safety purposes, you don't want to be doing like Jake does and test the insurance policy. So.
But and then too, also when you look at what we did is just like like Taylor's saying, is that, you know, there is guidelines. You can only work so many hours and time frames, and that same thing with the dogs. People are like, well, what about the dog? Same thing with the dogs. We have to be with the conditions with them to make sure there's food, there's water, they're shaded, they're not put into any stressful or areas that they can be harmed. Animal wrangler, professional dog trainer, so I know and been on sets with my dog on other movie sets with them, so you know right away what's going on. And that's the key thing, is because you don't want to put, how do you say, have that experience and somebody says, oh, they did this and that. No, everything we did was right there, like we did by the book, like we were supposed to.
Yeah, and it creates challenges, but
Right.
we overcome them. We actually answered several different questions because we were talking about Little Red. They said she was amazing. How did you come across her? Well, that's how it was. A friend of a friend that we knew, and she just she tested great during the screen test. She's actually one of two. We tested another girl as well, and sometimes things don't work out, but that's okay. There's different people for different roles or different situations as well. Here we go. Who designs the outfits that people are wearing? Well, nobody really designed it, but Megan put a lot of that together from what she saw, and she really helped shape the production on that end. So that was a big deal. Here's what was interesting. Someone asked, how many days a week did you shoot? And I wanted to bring this question up because we just talked about the shooting times.
Right.
Obviously, with the little girl, state laws for any kind of thing, you work with kids, especially in this industry, you only get a couple of hours. I forget the numbers off the top of my head. I want to say it's a lot less than 3 or 4 under certain ages. Disclaimer, I'd have to look that up, but there are parameters in place.
Yes.
And plus we had additional permissions. The mother was always on set with her, you know, so we had a lot of security, a lot of you know, protections in place. But we shot primarily because this is an indie movie, and we all, majority of us have day jobs as well. We shot primarily on Friday evenings and all day on Saturdays, sometime no more than 12 hours. There was only one day where we went to about 13, and that was the one day we shot everything at the mansion, because per our agreement, we only had a day and a half to shoot there, and the second day we had to move it along pretty quickly. So we started that at 8 a.m. that day. We were done by 9:30 that day.
Yeah.
That was a very big day. A lot of extras, a lot of people involved. And weather-wise, that was a wild day. We had people
Rain.
waiting in their cars because it was pouring rain.
And it was and
There was
heat.
thunder in the middle of us
Yeah.
filming.
Yeah, earlier that day it was like, you're talking humid, hot, and then all of a sudden we get back, come back, and then we come back to torrential rains.
I see. I got a couple other questions here from production side, and then we're going to talk more logistics with acting as well, and overall. Someone says the music was great. Thank you. How was the collaboration? How much collaboration was done for composing, for the mood, scene to scene? I've worked with Matthew. Matthew Rasmussen did our music. Matthew, in my opinion, is a genius when it comes to music. He actually plays multiple instruments. All of it was digitally done and created. I would send him the rough cuts of the scene because he moved out of state a few years ago. Well, it was in Michigan. He moved out of state a few years ago, and I was sending him rough cuts of the scene. he would play to it and then send it back. Now, before all that, we established a theme. And once the theme was done, then Matthew and I would sit there and discuss the scene. Say, okay, here's the scene, here's the setup, here's how it's going to go. And he would say, okay, I get an idea. So I'm going to take the theme and make it a little bit more somber. I'm going to make it happier. I'm going to make it sad. And then, I guess I should, here's spoiler alert, if you listen, Red's cell phone goes off. That also is the theme from the movie. He created a custom cell phone sounding theme, but it's the theme of the movie. So yeah, so Matthew Rasmussen, he's worked on a few of our shorts together. Early Arrival. There was a movie that we did called Living the Dream. He worked on that, and then when I talked to him about this, he composed this in like 3.5 months. Yeah, the guy's insane in a good way. So we appreciate Matthew all your help on that. But to further answer that question, we didn't license the music. We did pay for a composer, Matthew in this case, and we are talking about releasing a soundtrack as well. So
Yes.
boy, a lot of people ask when the next movie is. I'm like, we got a lot to do with this one yet. Everybody's like, when's the next one? I'm glad you like this one. We'll let you know when the next one's ready. Somebody asked if Becky's hair color is her actual natural hair color. I'm pretty sure it is.
Definitely.
I got one for Joaquin. I'm gonna come back to this one because
Okay.
this is a good one.
All right.
This is a good one. You're gonna like this. Another one for Becky. She wanted to know where she drew her comic relief from for the film. I would like her to answer that, but I'm going to tell you right now, she's a big fan of Bill Murray. So so everybody during the original rehearsals, they brought something to this. So they would say, hey, what if my character was doing this? Or what if they acted like this? Or what if they said that? If you look carefully in the driving scenes, Becky's character is more sits back. Doesn't have a seatbelt on. She just that's all CGI. She's just laid back. Where Red's character is more, she's sitting up. She's got her seatbelt. She's all about the safety and proper and all that. So sometimes body language really determines the character. Same thing in the lunch scene. You see Justine's character pulling out water and a banana and this, and you have Becky pulling out a Mountain Dew and hot fries and all this stuff. Or she's eating fries. She's always
Getting donuts delivered.
Or getting donuts delivered to her.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot more to the character than what's just said. It's how they wear their hair. They wear what they're wearing.
Their mannerisms.
The mannerisms. So they brought a lot. All of them, Justine and Becky and everybody. They brought a lot to their characters. Down to their delivery.
Right. And people that we've worked, I'll throw it like Anthony, my buddy Anthony. I've worked with him on some other little small stuff for book trailers and stuff like that. And, he was the delivery guy for the donuts. And he did a great job, I'm telling you. I'm surprised that they haven't hired him. So.
Donuts. No, I'm just kidding. So this is interesting. Somebody asked a very good question, and I'm glad because we did a lot of research on this. They said the movie was awesome. Thank you. Why was the name Saginaw not brought in the movie? Now, we did shoot mostly in Saginaw. We shot in one location in Freeland and then this location out near Hemlock. So Saginaw wasn't brought up for a lot of reasons. So the fictional story within the story about the mining and the disease and all this stuff in the movie. We talked about this. We were talking about a fictional name for the town, and I said, you know what? Let's not bring Saginaw into that. We're very proud of the area we live in. We're proud of Michigan. We're proud of the Tri-Cities and specifically Saginaw. But with respect to that, we didn't want anybody to think that there actually was any negative history tied to it. So we just took Saginaw. Again, we're very thankful to have worked in Saginaw and be with the community, but we know sometimes that folks may blend reality and fantasy, and we didn't want to do
saying that, and then you're going to have that one person that's going to say something and want to give it a black eye.
Right. Saginaw has, unfortunately, enough as it is.
And you want to be. This was all about being positive. But as we dug more into this, when you looked at it, and we did this, Saginaw had mines. They had salt mines and stuff.
Yeah, right.
And all of a sudden, you find that out that we didn't even realize that till after we start doing more digging, and they're like, holy smoke, this thing is lining up to, and I think that's why a lot of people may have thought that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much in there that we'd be here for a couple days sharing some of the stuff that we found out.
All right, moving right along here on the question and answers, Q&A. You guys had a lot of great questions. The big one was what are we doing next? So we'll talk about that here momentarily. But the big question, one of the big questions is, it's not really a question. They just want to know. So they just says, tell
That's
us
scary.
more.
It's kind of scary.
Yes, tell us more about the dogs. I think that's a question for you, Joaquin.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of how this all goes is like you have Chief, Little Chief, which is German. He's a German Shepherd, Czechoslovakian German Shepherd, and you have Storm, which is a Czechoslovakian Shepherd too, also Volchek. So Chiefs has experience in several movies. He's been in Warpath. He's done a Lifetime movie called Secrets in the Snow. He's been on what was another? We've done some book trailer type stuff that we've done where he's played. What was one? The Land Where No Apple Trees Grow. There's another one that we did. Redemption was another one it was called.
Worked
And then
on
we
Cadillac
did
commercial,
the
too.
Cadillac
Cadillac
commercials,
Escalade,
Escalade. He's just played these roles for the dogs to be able to do stuff. And then we've done shorts, all the shorts that we've done there. So to get these dogs prepared, it takes a lot. And it's basically the foundation where people are going, well, tell us some more. Well, when I got Chief, he was 10 weeks old. And to get him prepared is you have to be able to do a lot like you would do for service dog training. So they have to be exposed to loud noises, gunfire, stuff like what you would do. Just get them in there around all that stuff. So especially when they hit the set, they're desensitized to the people, the noises, the booms, everything that's going on, and they can stay focused on me. Same thing with Storm. I started him off, but he's a younger dog. So when we started, he was like 10 months when we kind of got him into testing him out, and then that's when Taylor goes,
He made me nervous.
yeah, he goes, do you think you could have him ready? I says,
Right.
yeah, I can have him ready. Just, it's going to take time because his mind think is totally different from where Chief's mindset is. Chief has that more solid traditional shepherd, hard where they'll work to please you, where Storm has this type of work to please when I want to do it, to please myself. Let me think about this. Okay, yeah, I'll go do this.
Right.
You're telling me no, but if I do it, okay, now I want to do it. You said you want me to do that? Okay, just ask me. Storm, go over there. Then he'll do it. Storm, you don't? Nope. Oh, you're telling me? Ask me same thing like that.
He surprises us a lot.
Right.
I noticed that too. For example, I was holding the shoulder rig, and we're focused, and his head's supposed to pop up in a scene right in front of the camera, and he pops up, turns around, starts licking me in the side of the face, and just kind of attacks you. So he kind of dances to his own drum.
Right, right. But when he's on, he's on.
Yeah.
It's like he processes things. It's like, what am I going to get out of it? So it was like working with a preschooler versus somebody who's like a second grader, third grader mentality. Like with Chief, I had a preschooler. It's like, come on, buddy, you can do this. Or yeah. We're going, he's running, he's chasing Justine. We're going down there, and all of a sudden a butterfly pops up. And there's Chief chasing the butterfly.
It's just like a cat.
And we're like, no, we're all laughing. And then we had to take a break because now he's looking for the butterfly. So now we got to regroup. That's that downtime that we talk about, that you're there. Where a lot of times I can refocus, Chief, watch, and you're probably posting photos where I can direct the dog from a distance and do all that stuff. Same thing with Storm. Will it happen? Yes. As he's getting more and more used to this industry, it comes about. Now, they're just like anything else. They're our pets. They're limited. They can only do so much. When they shut down, they shut down. They're done. They're like,
Right.
I don't want to do this.
We had that issue too
Yes.
with Storm, and
Especially the heat,
Right, with the heat. I mean, the one scene where he corners Josie's character, when he corners Josie, it was like almost. It felt. I would tell you it was close to 100 degrees up there.
Yeah.
That was in what, April? I think
Right.
it was in April. And so with Josie, we kept taking the jacket off her, getting her water, and I kept telling her, hey, if you don't feel right or something isn't right, you got to let us know. I mean, it wasn't a long scene. It was just enough of just the location where it was at. It was actually in the, well, we would call it the attic, but the upper room of this mansion. And Storm, once he shut down, he's like, I'm not moving. We're not doing this.
Yep, we're
done.
Yep. So then we just had to walk him off, give him that break.
But we had to get creative with
Right.
it. So we got creative in shots. And the fact, so the shot at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, shot at the end of the movie, I actually had to composite you out of the shot. I had to take you completely out of the shot because you did something. You said, he had to go follow you. He had to turn around and follow you. So he's facing camera, and he turns around and follows Joaquin. Well, Joaquin's like standing behind a tree, waving his hands or doing something. And I went in there and I actually composited you out of there.
Yeah.
If that's how I want to say it, composited you out. It basically composited another tree or something right over top of him, so it didn't look like he walked away on command.
Right.
So we had to get creative production side.
Right. Because of what we were dealing. I mean, it's hard because there's so much that, in fact, you got wildlife that you got to worry about, squirrels, bunnies, everything, and try to keep them focused on that. And thank God they know out or leave it, but still they're curious. They're like, oh, where is it? And they're just kind of like, hey, right here, watch.
How did you like working with him, Jake? Remember we moved the camera to him at one point.
Yeah,
too.
he was, working with Storm. It was, like Rakeem said, he's a real powerful dog. It's almost intimidating when you first see him the first time because he looks like a wolf.
Right.
He's a very sweet animal, but he's like a teenager.
Yep.
He thinks with his stomach. He's always loving on you. Like he likes the attention. But it was really, really fun. It was a great learning experience for me too because I grew up with hunting dogs, which is a different type of training.
Yeah.
You let them run, they do their thing. You're counting on instinct. There are some commands to it, but it's not a whole lot.
Right.
And then you get to these dogs, and I watched Chief, and he's
a soldier.
right away.
Yeah, he's a soldier.
Here we go.
Yes, sir. No, sir.
And Storm's getting there, but he's that teenager that's like, I want to do it.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
And then
Is there a hot dog over there?
Then we had to let them kind of get scraggly looking to look. We had to. They're blowing their coat, So at that time, I couldn't brush them. So I got my dog. Was like, man, I can't because he's in. It's just you had the beard. You couldn't shave, so it was like there's scenes, and that's what I think people don't see in the Hollywood aspect of what people have to do. Same thing with the dog. I had to make him look like he can't look like this groomed.
Well, and that's the whole continuity thing. I had a work trip in the middle, and I can remember I was going to Arizona, and Taylor was like, "Don't get sunburned."
Yeah, right.
Because I was gone for like Monday to Wednesday or Monday to Thursday, and we were going to shoot on Friday. And he's like, "You were this pale this day. You must be this pale this day."
That happened to Justine when we did that one day reshoot in June, and she was a little more redder than usual. So we were like, "Hey, cake it on there, cake on the makeup, drop her down, bring her back to the winter."
But I think that's a testament to Megan and to what Joaquin did with the dogs and everything else.
You want that, and then his mannerisms are totally different. Because the way he'd bop his head and he'd look and he'd snap, and that's when they're in the wild. That's what that look is. They don't sit there with dogs sitting there focused. Even with Chief, I have to give him that natural look because when you start watching, that's what's bad. Once you do a movie, and you'll know, you start watching everything, it's wrecked. I was told that, right? And I'm like, yep, that's right. So when I see certain things that I do, I watch that even in other movies, and I learn from that with my tip for when I have Chief, so he looks more natural. So when I'm working him, I just don't want him like this, staring at me. I gotta have his head bob around, do something, like off to the side over there, so it looks natural to the camera. That's just not like,
yep.
And you see it. Watch in there. You see it in the movies, and it's some people think, it's good. No, we want that, and that's what we did. Either you're going to go big or don't do it at all, and you got to do it. It's that's there, and sometimes if it didn't, we'll scratch it, redo it again.
And that is something I noticed working with the dogs that was different because a lot of my favorite sitcoms have a dog involved in them. And what I started noticing was when I watch reruns of those sitcoms is the dog is like, and you don't know who the dog is looking at. But one of the things that both Chief and Storm did really well was they didn't play to the camera. They didn't play to Joaquin most of the time. It was they did what they were supposed to, and it looked like it was just a part of the thing.
And it's hard because your sets are small, and I'm sitting there moving around and trying to get in there. And, even Chief, Chief nails his scenes. That's what's so nice with Chief because we're like, we're done.
Yeah,
we nailed his special scene in 2 takes.
I'm still shocked that he grabbed a plastic bottle of water without poking one hole in it.
That was solid.
A dog, German Shepherds with hard mouths. He was like, here we go. And I'm like, I was waiting for that thing to just...
Gentle.
So, because that's what I would
expect. What's so funny is that, I may have to laugh, but this is kind of funny. Justine goes after she opens it up, take a drink, and then she goes to me afterwards. She goes, "Was that the bottle that the dog gave me?" Sorry, Justine. Yes, it was.
little dog flavor. Nice. So we overall the shoot was definitely not some of the questions that came up aside from what's your next project. A lot of the questions that came up was did this. how did they put it? Did it turn out to be the movie you thought it would be? And I tell people this, and I'm glad to say it this way. No, it was a lot better. And it does come down to the people. You know, when I talk about the movie, I never say, hey, this is my movie, this is about me, and no, this is our movie. Us here, those that are watching, those that came to support us, the community, the additional cast and crew, everybody had something that they contributed to the movie in one way, shape, or form, whether it was a thought, an idea, or they brought something and said, hey, can we use this, or can we try this technique? One of the techniques we tried with the dogs, we tried strapping a GoPro to a harness. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, we watched that footage, and I think there have been some sick people in the theater.
But we were experimenting to see what we could come with, and why don't you have one? But there's equipment you can buy, but in reality you can't, because we wanted to get the capture the
right.
How would you say the angle the angle of what you would do, but we wouldn't have been able to do it with it because, well, duh, there's GoPros out there.
Right.
Yeah, we know that, but we wouldn't have been able to catch the angle that we wanted with what we had to do with Storm.
Right. So I was running with the camera in some parts, and we didn't even use some of that. I mean, I'm literally running with this camera, and I'm, you experiment. You have to, and there was some minor. And we're not going to get into the details of it, but there were some minor injuries on set, and it doesn't have to be anything super dangerous. It's not like we're jumping out of something and flames and all this stuff going on. You really have to think things through. Justine in the movie trips, and it looks like she lands on her face. So we shot what they call a long lens. We shot a little bit longer, a little bit more past than where the camera actually is, and we put down crash mats, and we only had that trip. But when you put it together and edit, it looks like she's going full throttle, running, trip and fall, and it could be very dangerous. So we didn't have any issue there, but we have other issues where somebody bumps into something, tripped over something, fell, or we're not going to get into your situation.
I don't know anything about that.
Right? You fell.
It wasn't even part of the shoot,
right? but as from like one production group to another, or people want to get in this, things happen,
right?
And that's why you have to be insured. That's why you have to get into a location.
Your first aid people, your people that we have there ready for to do all that stuff.
That's why it's very important when you have animals, especially involved. And all the animals are all insured. Everybody's insured in case for some reason an animal maybe lashes out at them or something, or does something to protect themselves, or something even happens to that animal. And I think too many people these days, especially in the indie scene, they take too many risks.
Right.
And you don't know at the end of the day what that's going to do. So we were very careful on a lot of that. Like I said, the car driving scene, people are like, oh, did you rig a camera to a car? I'm like, no. One, that's expensive equipment. We're not doing that at this level. And two, it was all CG because it made it safe for everybody. We shot that out on a back lot with a green screen. So, these are the things that we had to keep in mind. But so overall, you had a great time filming.
I did.
You learned a lot. Now you want to be more behind the camera than in front, or how does that?
Oh, I want both. I think that's the thing. This has become an addiction for me. Like before, it was playing around. Like I said, I supported friends' projects. I wanted to do a little bit, or they had a message I wanted to be a part of, and that was great. I've always done the writing in the back. Like I've attempted to write some scripts. I've written a book. I've written for a number of things. But being in front of the camera was a different experience, especially this time for me, because I got to make the character mine a little bit. I got to, really participate in what was going on around me and really interact with what the movie was. And I think it was a different type of fun for me in that regard. Like you get to be somebody else and play pretend. Like, I'm 45 this year, and I got to be my imaginary friend for a little while there. It was really fun, and I think that's something I want to do more of. Like I've told you that already. Like I want to do some more acting now, which before, if you'd asked me, but when you first asked me about this part, I'm like, another 2 minutes. This is good. And then you sent me this. Then you sent me the script, and I'm like, okay, that was 2 minutes. And, oh wait, I'm on this page too, and then and I'm on another page. What is this? Okay,
so to finish on that thought for a moment, because it's a funny story.
Oh, yes.
So he plays a character named Liam. We didn't have a Liam a week before rehearsals, and Joaquin and I are going back and forth.
Oh my gosh.
And you talk about phone calls, meetings, logistics. You do more of that than you do filmmaking. That's just the nature of it. And we're going back and forth, and everybody keeps sending me, well, I got this cousin, or I got this friend, or, whatever the case may be, and you're just going through stuff. And he starts telling me about these actors. I even emailed and tried to call a few actors, and I got no callbacks, no emails, and I'm like, what do we do? Well, I met another local producer, and she dropped your name. And I send this guy a message on Facebook. And I didn't
really
know what was
long
gonna happen.
message on
Facebook.
Facebook.
So go ahead and tell them. So
I see this message from someone I don't. My Facebook's wide open. Anybody can message me. But I get this message on Facebook, and I'm like, who's this Taylor? And I clicked on the message, but it's paragraphs. So I don't read it because I assume it's a prince in Nambia trying to get me rich off of their family fortune. And then Becky, who is notorious for not messaging back, sends me a message. Have you answered Taylor's message? And I'm like, oh, it's real. She's like, you need to answer it right away. So I met Taylor initially through a Zoom call, and we read over the part, and then I read some of the part and did it on on my phone, which was kind of hilarious because I'm trying to act like I know what I'm doing. And we get to the first day of shooting, and my brain looks at everything linearly.
On a linear path.
Yeah. And we shoot the third scene instead of the first scene I'm in. And I was really good. I had practiced that first scene. I was okay at the next scene. And so we go through it, and we did all right in the end. I needed a bit of coaching, and luckily Justine was there kind of coaching me along and everything else when she wasn't making faces at me.
Which, it's a lot of the blooper reels, actually.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, Justine will do when her face hits the back of her head, she is making a face at you. So the fact that we look so serious
keeps it fun.
Yeah,
keeps it fun.
It was good, but it was just one of those. She's got her eyes crossed, and you're like,
Megan did too.
I'm dying, hon. I'm dying. But we're eating, and Justine's talking to me about our next scene, and she's coaching us, and Taylor's talking to somebody else, and he's like, yeah, we were looking for actors to play Liam, and we were looking at Tall, Dark, and Handsome. And I'm like, yeah, Tall, Dark, and Handsome. He's like, and then we met Jake, and I'm like, I'm thinking all good. And the next thing you want to deflate just a little bit, he's like, we decided to go in a completely different direction. And I was like, wait a minute.
That's part of the story.
So
I have to laugh though, because yes, you're kind of right. But when I was scouting for Liam, it was funny because I had people that I would send stuff to, and they would say, "Oh yeah, I'm totally going to be Liam," and all this stuff. And when I presented it to you, I said, "Hey, you said I want to read the script," and I sent it to you. And then I get on a Zoom call with Jake, and he says, "So if you don't have anybody for Liam, I think I could play this role. I want to play this role." And it's funny because I didn't tell him that it was open. I was just hoping he'd take the invite. And so I said, yeah, we actually need you. And by the way, rehearsals are next week. So yeah, it was, and from there it worked beautifully. And we rehearsed in this facility. We really had one day actors training for months. I mean, down to their physique sometimes, to their
there was
dialogue,
no physique training.
everything. Yeah, we had two people on a camera and a tripod sit in front of it and basically read their lines and offer suggestions or show how the scene was going to play out. And I just sat there taking notes, and that was the coolest thing. A lot of people said they really enjoyed that because it opened them up to, okay, this is getting to be really real now. And then
it gave you a real rundown and a feel of what it was. I mean, there were some things because even though we had the scenes, they were still kind of secret how they were going to go, even for us.
Right.
Which was understandable, but it gave us a feel for the general direction of the movie. And I read through the script once, but it was pretty quick because I was trying to get back to you. And then I read Liam's part several times, but to watch the movie come together. And I think that was the biggest thing for me in this movie is I've seen independent films. I've went to film festivals where they had budgets actually higher than what we had.
Right.
So in my brain, I had a production level idea. Like, it's going to look like this on the screen. And when it hit the screen, I was like,
no, when you came in for ADR, you were blown away too.
Yeah, but I mean, but after that, it got even better. That was the thing. It was like, holy cow. Like, when I came in for ADR, I'm like, that's got to be final product.
Yeah.
And then it got more.
Exponential.
Yeah. And you added scenes that weren't there before, because I know you and Joaquin went out and shot some last-minute footage and things like that to really, but I think that says something because you didn't give up. You made sure that your vision became something, but man, on the screen, it looked like it had a budget that was 10 or 20 times more.
We had a lot of people ask us that, what equipment we're using and where'd you do this, where'd you find that, and yeah, we were very fortunate, very blessed to have the locations and the people that stepped up. But you're right, we were still shooting stuff 3 weeks before the premiere, pretty much, just throwing stuff in there. We did multiple private showings, and one with you guys. In fact, it got polished even more beyond what you guys saw almost a month and a half prior to the premiere. So we did what, dare I say, Hollywood would do, is we did test audiences beforehand, and we knew where the issues were.
And took feedback.
Absolutely.
I can remember being in some of those conversations. I wouldn't say they were hard conversations, but there were comments, and there was a lot of note taking.
Yeah,
but,
more tall, dark, and handsome, less Jake. No,
but I think that was part of it. But yeah, when you saw it, when it actually hit the big screen, I can just remember. I mean, I was grinning like a little kid, because I was like, "Look at that!"
It gave us chills. Him and I walked in there, and we watched the first scene and the end scene before anybody else. We got to go see it on there, and I'll tell you, it was almost like we froze.
Yeah,
we were just like, "This was just very real." And our goal at the end of the day is not to make a great product for all of our viewers and everybody, but for everybody involved in the project. This is a big thing for everybody. We want to put forth our best effort. And we talked a little bit about ADR, just for our audiences. ADR is automated dialogue replacement. So some scenes, for example, the scene with you and Justine outside, that audio is so bad, we still recorded it so that we had a base to work off of. But they would come in, they would watch the scene on a screen, and then they would do the audio in a clean environment. So we've had people asking, "Wow, how'd you get that so clean?" Because they see the leaves moving, the wind blowing, but everything's so clean and crisp. Well, that's why we took the time. Something most productions may not do at this level is bring people in an ADR whole scene. We had the ADR the whole diner scene. Sorry to ruin it for people who thought it was a little off. The diner scene, they had all the ice cream machines running, and it had such a bad hum to the dialogue. I said, "I'm not going to drive our audience nuts. Let's redo the whole thing." So both Becky and Justine came in and ADR'd the whole thing. So, but I think overall, I mean, we were very happy with the production. People loved every minute of it. You got your scene, you and Justine, the beginning living room scene.
Yep.
Gives me chills and blew me away. There are people who were like, "How long have they been together?" I'm like, "They're not. They're actors. They don't even know each other." That's how good that was. And then the scene at the end. I mean, all your scenes were good, but I would tell you those two scenes to me had a certain, I want to say almost a certain magic to it.
But I think that's
chemistry.
That was that chemistry, and I think that was the group. Like I didn't know Justine till I walked in the door here at this studio, and it was one of those things where we talked and we were kind of friendly and we read together, and I think that's when it started. Like we started reading. There's a couple mistakes because you're reading and it's the first time and you're nervous, and we joked and everything else, and it just kind of came together. But you had Justine, you had Becky, you had Tom and Vicky that were there all the time. Just the advice you got, meeting Sammy was a huge deal, and watching that, because that was the first time he'd really done something like that. And
it's actually one of our Q&A questions about Sammy. They said, "Where did you find him?" Well, I've worked with Sammy during the day. I've known Sammy for years, and I've seen how he interacts with people, and I brought Sammy on because I've liked his personality, and I'm like, that will fit that role. There really wasn't, outside of Justine realistically playing as adult Red, there really wasn't anybody that I really wrote for. I mean, Tom I did because Tom and Vicky are good friends of ours, and Tom, I really wanted to bring him. That was his dream, to be in a full feature movie. So this like fulfilled his dream. And to work with Tom and Vicky always is amazing. I pushed. That's why I laughed when you were talking about Tom and Vicky. I pushed Vicky so hard. That's like 13 takes, like 12 or 13 takes to get her to say that one line where she's yelling at Tom. And she,
"Hey, Mr. Grumpy Pants!"
Cranky Pants.
But
Cranky
she
Pants.
was sitting there, and she was like, but she was not in a negative way. She was kind of like pushing back on me a bit. "I don't do this. That's not me." I said, and I would say, "Vic, you're Mrs. Jones. You're not Vicky. You're Mrs. Jones. You're cranky Mrs. Jones." So once she embraced that, we were all laughing. We're all in the background just laughing. I'm like, "Come on, Vic, do it again." And she would just let it fly. But you're right. We had moments. They were never bad moments where we're really bashing each other, so to speak. But we would go back and forth a little bit and say, this is how I feel my character should be, or this is the interpretation. We go back and forth and say, well, does it fit the character? Does it fit the story? So I know you guys did a tremendous job, but like I said, when you guys did the scene in the living room, it literally was like, it blew me away. I remember walking back, I'm like, let's just do one more for a safety take. But that was cool.
And that was one where it felt, and I think for me, Liam, I don't want to say was easy, but a lot of Liam's personality, and why I told you that when we first talked, was I read it and I'm like, I feel like he's known me for a while, because there was a lot of similarities in personality. Like, he's more laid back. He's kind of funny when he wants to be.
You're the everyday man.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and that was something that I felt fit my personality. So it worked really well where I didn't have to be something I wasn't. I didn't have to be the villain, or I didn't have to be the, you know.
I gave you guys a little bit of leeway with the script overall. I will tell you, in spoiler alert, the end credit scene was completely ad-libbed. You guys completely ad-libbed it, and it was perfect.
Yeah.
And I heard people chuckling in the audience, you know, at the premiere, and they loved it. They said, "Oh, I love that little," because you show time has passed for these characters,
Right.
and so I thought that was really cool. I'm glad we did that. I'm on the fence when it comes to end credit scenes, but I felt like it fit this because it showed progression in the characters. So, but overall, I mean, I mean, anything else you guys had about the movie? You know, we covered a lot here.
Yes.
We got a lot of great information for you folks. Obviously, if you have any questions, reach out to us. Let us know.
And I'm sure they'll be giving us questions on when we see it posted.
We've been so busy. That's why I said it's already been a month. And in just a moment here, Joaquin and I are going to tell you what's to come. And Well, thanks for joining us again on this Q&A session for Red Shadow and Good Harbor Blue. We have tons of great things to come in 2023.
Yes, we
You
do.
guys have been asking, like, what's our next project? I mean, we're not Hollywood. We're not cranking these out. I mean, we don't have the budget, and even if we did, we want to take our time. We want to make sure that we bring on the best people and tell the best stories.
Yes.
It's all about sharing good stories, you know, something positive, something that helps people in general, you know, break into the industry a little bit.
Fulfill their dreams. Maybe it's something to cross off their bucket list even.
Right, exactly. See, if it's one time or it's something that, like Jake earlier talks about catching the film bug and wants to film more and act more, then that's what it is. Maybe that's part of your purpose, part of your dream. Coming up, so we started a new company called Peer Review Media. Peer Review Media is going to be publishing distribution, independent publishing distribution for movies, books, and music. We're not going to open it completely up to other independent production companies just yet, but it is going to be coming in early 2023, so stay tuned for that. You can actually see, we have a website now, peerreviewmedia.com. It's going to take you to the Good Harbor Blue page for the time being, and eventually it'll have its own page and Facebook as well, so be sure to follow us on that. We do have another movie in development right now.
Yes, we do.
There are different stages. The development is usually story, script, piecing everything together. And then once that's settled or greenlit and backed, then it goes into pre-production. We start putting the props and the people together, the locations,
actors,
etc.
locations,
Production, then post-production, edit, and then the rest is history. For Red Shadow, we are in talks with a couple of local theaters across the state of Michigan, north, south, east, west. So it'll be back in theaters starting in January. We'll have more information on that, and then we will be going to streaming after that as well. And I'm working on the DVD, Blu-ray distribution thing, but we'll talk about that. So if you want a piece of history, you'll be able to buy that through our website and hopefully Amazon at some point too. So did you have anything else about the production? I mean, we have we got a lot on our plates.
I think it's just be ready for 2023. We're going to try to do the best we can to bring a positive, outlook towards mid-Michigan here, and hopefully be able to work with new faces and locations and other actors that are wanting to break into this industry, and hopefully, like I said, we'll be able to have more fun in this and take that into the indie film type thing and take it to another level. We do invite other producers, actors, people want to get into other creatives. We connected with a lot of different artists for this movie as well. If you're on board, join us. Fill out the form on mitalent.harbor.com. MI Talent Harbor is part of Good Harbor Blue. Fill it out, and if our next project would require your assistance, we'd be glad to bring you on board or get you connected with someone local who can as well. So a lot of great things coming up. Again,
thank you for joining us for the Q&A session.
Yes.
And we wish you guys all a wonderful and blessed 2023.